Quicksilver Storm and the Warlock Broodweaver go hand in hand to create a devastating PVE build in Destiny 2. So this build is going to tear through enemies in dungeons, raids and Nightfalls, creating threadlings and loads of tangles as well. So today I'm going to walk through the build, look at the subclass, the aspects and the fragments, the exotic armour, the weapons and the mods, so you can piece together this Warlock Strand build in Destiny 2. If you're new around here and find this useful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below for all the latest Destiny 2 content and turn on notifications by hitting that bell. Well, this build is all about suspending and unravelling enemies. So suspend is going to keep your enemies locked in place, plus you're going to unravel enemies to create projectiles to throw, damaging and debuffing enemies, helping you control the battlefield. Okay, I'm going to show you plenty of more gameplay of the build at the end, but without further delay, let's have a look at this build. Well, first of all, the subclass, and of course I'm using Strand. So for my super, I'm using Needle Storm. For my class ability, I'm using a Healing Rift, because we do need a way to heal ourselves. For the melee ability, I'm using Arcane Needle, and for my grenade, I'm using a Shackle Grenade. So cast your Rift to weave 3 threadlings, and also deploy any threadlings that you have perched. Your call weaves a path into existence, a chirp rings out, and they're eager to answer. And then you've got Mind Spun Invocation, so our grapple, Shackle Grenade and Threadling Grenade have enhanced functionality, so you want to hold it to consume your Shackle Grenade and activate Weaver's Trance. And Final Blows, while Weaver's Trance is active, creates a suspending detonation. And that really is the key to this build. Then the fragments, so thread of continuity, so suspend, unravel and sever effects applied to targets have increased duration. We've got thread of mind, so defeating suspended targets grants class ability energy. Thread of fury, damaging targets with a tangle grants melee energy. And thread of generation, so dealing damage generates grenade energy. Essentially with our fragments here, we're topping up each of our ability energies, and that is going to give us loads of ammo and loads of ways to damage our enemies with this build. Well, next up, let's have a look at the exotic armour. So we're using the Necrotic Grip. It's an exotic Warlock Gauntlets. It's a set of exotic Warlock Gauntlets that come with the perk Grasp of the Devourer. So damaging combatants envenoms them with poison that deals an increasing damage over time, and defeating a poison combatant spreads the condition to a nearby target. So this works really, really well with the Warlock Broodweaver. And they're very powerful gloves for a Warlock, but even more powerful when combined with the range melee attack of the Broodweaver. Well, next up we have the weapons. So in the kinetic slot, I'm using Quicksilver Storm. So it's an exotic auto rifle, very good for this build, especially when you've got the catalyst, as it converts the damage to Strand. Also, Final Blows with grenades from the weapon create tangles. So that is another way to create tangles. You can throw them at your enemies, and given the Strand output, this is going to work really, really well with that build. But definitely, if you are going to use Quicksilver Storm, make sure you get hold of that catalyst. In the energy slot, I'm using the Retraced Path, but for the energy weapon, it really is down to personal preference. I'm using the Retraced Path here. That is the Trace Rifle from Dares of Eternity, because I've got a roll with Incandescent, and exploding enemies with that Solar Trace Rifle is a whole load of fun, but you can mix and match your energy weapons to fit your activity. For example, you may want to use something here to take this build into Nightfalls, like a Pulse Rifle or a Scout Rifle, something to match the champion mods this season, although of course you can take out champions with abilities as of Lightfall. Well, in the power weapon slot there, I'm using Circular Logic. This one is a legendary power machine gun with an adaptive frame. I mean, it's got a wear-around grip, it's reliable, it's sturdy. It's also a Strand weapon as well, so again, it works well with Quicksilver Storm and also the build in general. So this one comes with the origin trait Nanotech Tracer Rockets, where landing multiple hits turns your next shot into a homing micro-missile. So not only are you damaging your enemies with the machine gun bullets, but you've got the Nanotech Tracer Rockets as well, and that is going to work really, really well with the build. Okay, next up, let's have a look at the artifact mods. So I'm using a few here. We've got Untangler, so destroying a tangle with a strand weapon suspends targets damaged by the explosion. I'm using Allied Unraveling, so rapid final blows with the strand weapon grants your weapon unraveling rounds with a longer duration near allies. Then Counter Weave, so when you or a member of your fire team stuns or defeats a champion, you gain energy for your least charged strand ability. And finally, Threaded Blast, so destroying a tangle with a strand weapon creates a larger and more damaging explosion. So all of these artifact mods are going to work really, really well for your build. But talking about mods, next up let's have a look at the armour mods. So I'm using a few here. So Powerful Friends, first of all, so collecting an Orb of Power causes nearby allies to increase their current armour charge by 1, so that's going to benefit your whole team. Then you've got Siphon mods, so using Solar and Strand Siphon mods for this build. I'm using Impact Induction, so causing damage with a melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown. So that works really, really well with your fragments as well, reducing the cooldown of your grenade, so you can throw more shackle grenades or consume that grenade. That is really, really key for the build. Focusing Strike up next, so grants class ability energy when you cause damage with your melee attack. Then we got Font of Vigor, so you gain a bonus to strength while you've got an armor charge, and your armor charge now decays over time. Next up we got Charged Up, so increase the maximum number of stacks of armor charge you can carry by 1. So that's going to be really good. The more armor charge you have, the more benefits you're going to have on the battlefield. And then we got Font of Endurance, so you gain a bonus to resilience while you've got an armor charge, so more resilience. If you can get that resilience up to 100, and your armor charge now, again, decays over time. Next up we have Innovation, so reduces the grenade cooldown when you pick up an Orb of Power. And we've also got a Strand Weapon Surge, so your Strand Weapon gains a small bonus to damage while you have an armor charge, and your armor charge, again, now decays over time. We've got Stacks on Stacks, so grants 2 stacks of armor charge on an Orb Power pickup. So essentially, with your Siphon mod, you want to create orbs, pick up orbs, and then Stacks on Stacks, that gives you 2 armor charges instead of 1. Then we've got Outreach, so using your class ability grants melee energy, so we're creating a nice little loop here. Class ability energy creating melee energy. Also, causing damage with your melee, reduce your grenade cooldown, also with Impact Induction. So that all works really, really well in a loop. Finally, we have Time Dilation, so your decaying armor charge has a longer duration. So there's quite a lot of mods there, a little bit complicated, but essentially you want to generate yourself armor charges and then use other mods to create benefits for those armor charges. So what I'll do, so you can easily access this build, I will put a dim link in the description, so it is nice and easy for you to access that build, and hopefully you get a whole lot out of it. Well, the combination of class ability and melee ability is really going to help you out with the build. So consume your grenade, that is going to trigger the Mind Spun Invocation, allowing you to activate Weaver's Trance for 25 seconds. Once you've got this, the final blow will create a suspending detonation around targets. So that is really, really the key to the build. The combination of Strand Aspects, Fragments, Quicksilver Storm, and Necrotic Grips, they are going to allow you to constantly damage enemies, suspend them in the air, plus these effects are going to be passed on to enemies that are in close proximity because of Necrotic Grip. So they are particularly good here, given you've got that damage over time poison effect, which triggers on the melee hit, and given you've got Arcane Needle, then you can be able to fire this from a distance and be lethal from all ranges, not just when you are close to enemies. There are a couple of artifact mods in the build that are going to make this one work extra harder, so Untangler, Allied Unraveling, Counterweave and Threaded Blast, they are all really, really good, so make sure you check out your artifact mods. The armor mods, on the other hand, generally help you regenerate abilities nice and quickly, given that we want our class, our grenade and our melee abilities up as much as possible to get all those great benefits. Armor charges do drain over time, so keep an eye on the counter in the bottom left hand corner of the screen. But all of this together creates a Strand Warlock build that's going to help you control the battlefield with Suspend, clear entire rooms of smaller enemies, and spread poison all around the battlefield, plus you can do some major damage to bosses and mini-bosses too. Well, let me know in the comments what you think about the build. You can also check out that dim link down below for the full build and a quick, easy way to get it for you. But that is it for this Warlock Strand PVE build with Quicksilver Storm and Necrotic Grip. And as always, thank you so much for watching or listening. Well, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you real soon.